Hi, my name is Daniel. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to go over my weekly reading that I have just completed. This was the final week of August, which was the final week of an event called Garbaugust. This is a reading event created by Ollie at Criminali. This is the second year running where we read trash, smut, novelizations of movies, anything that's sort of considered lowbrow by the literary elite. Um, I've read two books this week that I really enjoyed. The first is actually a classic in the trashy literature genre. That is V.C. Andrews' Flowers in the Attic. This is a book about four children who lost their father at a young age, and their mother had no way of supporting them. So she took them to her parents' house. She was a wealthy heiress before losing herself and getting removed, rather, from the will due to marrying her husband. As you find out later why that would be. But it was a forbidden marriage, and so she was cut out of the will. And so now she needs to win back the favor of her father while he is still alive. He is apparently laying on his deathbed. And so she decides, with help of the grandmother, to squirrel them away in a small room that connects to the attic and then keep them there in secret while she tries to like win back her father's good graces. Um, this is the pretense of this is that, oh, this is going to be for like a day or two at the most. Um, and unfortunately, it progresses a lot longer. The grandmother who brings them food and stuff every day is a little on the abusive side. She also did not approve of the marriage and thinks that the children are hellspawn, essentially. So she is not taking very good care of them. And the mother first starts coming, like, every day, like, oh, this is the progress I'm making. We can do this. Soon you'll be living in riches and style. And once the grandfather dies, then we'll inherit everything. Um, so the kids wait, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait. Weeks go by, months go by, years go by, and they're still stuck in this room, not allowed to leave, not allowed to make a noise, go outside, anything like that. Um, and their mother's visits get less and less frequent. She showers them with gifts and such, but it's not really a substitute for like freedom. So um, this book has a reputation, mainly because the two oldest children kind of grow up and go through puberty together alone with no other human interaction other than the grandmother, and they do end up having relations. That wasn't really all that interesting in this book. I know it's what this book is known for, but to me, it was more the fairy tale aspect of this book. This is like, and it makes many allusions within the text of being trapped in a tower. There's this like evil stepmothery figure in the grandmother who hates them, and then they basically they're waiting for their salvation. They're waiting for the second part of the fairy tale where they break free and everything is happily ever after. Um, Spoiler: it doesn't really happen that way. Um, this book, I enjoyed it. Well, I think I enjoyed it. It really just made me sad, but it was well done, I think. I had a few issues with the pacing overall. I understand sort of why it was paced in the way it was. The kids are trapped in like one place, one room that adjoins the attic. The attic is their only freedom. But you sit there and you wait with the children. This is not. I mean, this is deceptively looks short. It's not. It's fairly lengthy for what it is. Maybe it's just tiny text. And you're sitting there waiting for something to happen, and for a good chunk of this, not much does, and that did grate on me a little bit in the middle of the book, but the twists at the end were worth the wait. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this copy, but I definitely want to continue on with the series. Um, for such for this book having such a reputation for being trashy literature, it is not like a revenge porn type of novel. You're not going to get that kind of satisfaction in it, like you almost expect nowadays. Especially if this was written today, you'd get much more of a book like that. This is more of a like I said, a gothic fairy tale, and I think it's well done for what it is. I can't really fault it for what it is not supposed to be. Um, so I will continue because I do believe that there is revenge that does happen throughout the series of books. But we'll see. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I am recovering from something, and this is my second recording because I lost it all. So I'm super happy about that. The second book I read, I am super happy about, and that is Jaws 2. Pardon me. If I go through puberty again, you'll just have to bear with me. Um, Jaws 2 was really good. I heard about this on Steve Donahue's channel. I don't think I ever would have picked up a novelization of a sequel to Jaws, especially because I don't recall this movie being all that great. This is the movie that had the very combustible shark, which is weird. Um, but this was really, really, really enjoyable. Like so much so that I really want to pick up the sequel to this sequel, which is not Jaws 3D, which kind of would have been amazing if they named a book Jaws 3D. But it's based off the next movie, Jaws: The Revenge. This was not written by Peter Benchley. This was written by Hank Searles, and I do think I prefer him over the original author. I realized they were probably trying to do very different things with their Killer Shark book, um, but I vastly prefer Jaws 2 over Jaws. At first, when I first started reading this, I wasn't quite sure if this was going to be a sequel to the book Jaws or the movie Jaws. Um, those they have very different plot lines and very different outcomes. Um, about 100 pages in, it became very apparent this is a sequel to the book Jaws, which I think is really good because one of my main criticisms of Jaws was that it did not have like a satisfying resolution to any of its plot lines other than the shark, and even that wasn't as good as the movie, I think. Um, but this book does pick up a lot of the plot threads to that, and I do appreciate that a lot. We have sort of a resolution to the mafia storyline. Um, Ellen, who is Brody's wife, doesn't really get as much love in this book. Throughout most of this book, when we do get her point of view, she's kind of a shrewish character, which wasn't really the case in the first book. The first book, she had a much more intriguing like storyline. This doesn't like contradict it, but it doesn't add anything to her character. Most of the time, she's just angry at Brody for really minor things while he's dealing with some major crises. Um, there's this visiting police sergeant from New Jersey, I believe, who like shoots at a porpoise, and since people are being killed by a shark that no one knows about, Brody arrests him and tries to blame all the disappearances on them. There's a really good scene in this book that is very different in the movie, and that is like the skiing scene. If you've ever seen Jaws 2, there's like a scene where these two women are jet skiing, and then you just see the shark coming up behind them, and like I guess you're supposed to feel tension. It's way better in this book. In this book, it's a married couple, and like if you don't want spoilers, sorry. But it happens, I believe, fairly early on in both. Um, there's a section where a boat explodes, and excuse me. There's a section where the boat explodes, and in the movie, like it's because this like girl picks up a gasoline can to like hit the shark that's eating her friend, and she just dumps it all over herself, and then like the shark and her get caught on fire because she shoots like a flare gun at it. It's just kind of it was kind of dumb, and then the shark has like this burn scar. That doesn't happen in this version. In this version, like it's a man and a wife. He's very competent, but like he just sees like this fin going behind her, and then the shark just coming up faster than the boat can go, and he's freaked out, and she's trying to do tricks because she doesn't know that there's a shark behind her until like she like does this like backwards flip and sees it. um the tension was way better in this book, and like him shooting it, like he doesn't dump gasoline all over himself, he just misses his shot and it goes wide, it hits the gas can and explodes. It's way better in this. You get a lot more backstory of all of the minor characters, what goes on in their head. It's really well done, like way better than Jaws 2 deserves, I think. um, there is something that annoyed me in the first book that is still present in this one, and I don't know why, but it works better for me in this book, and that is getting inside the mind of animals. You see the perspective of the shark again in this one. This one is a bigger shark than the first shark. It's a female, and she's pregnant, and that makes her very hungry. Pardon me. And she is just eating, eating, eating to give birth to her pups. So, where was I going with this? Oh, so you see in her mind, sort of, kind of what's going in her mind, even though it does say in her point of views that she is mostly mindless. They're mostly just like extensions of their sensory organs. And then you do get in the head of a seal and a couple other animals. I could do without that, but like I said, it worked better in this one. Searles added a lot more. I don't want to just keep saying tension, but he made me feel the fear of the animals more in this one. He made me feel the hunger of the shark in this one. Um, if there's to be a criticism leveled at it, it's that they're thinking in metaphors that animals wouldn't understand. But I think that's just for the reader's benefit, and it was fine. I can forgive it. This was a really good book, and it did have a conclusion for all the storylines, which I appreciated. I think I would have liked Jaws, the original, a lot more if he just added like an extra chapter or two that just wraps it up. Because like when the first shark dies, like that just sort of like was the end. But this one, we got to see what the end was for everyone involved. So I like this a lot. This is a 5-star read as far as I'm concerned. So those were the two books I've read to close out Garbaugust. I've also read a quick comic book, a very short one, that is Countdown Picard, or Picard Countdown, I guess. This is part of the IDW series that are like prequels to the movies and shows now, I guess. There was a couple of previous Countdown books. This was a countdown to the J.J. Abrams movie. Excuse me. Riveting drinking. This was a prequel to the J.J. Abrams movie. And one thing I found very interesting that they chose to do one for Picard as well is that they're both labeled Countdown, but they're not in the same continuity. They can't be, because events in Picard like directly contradict what happens in the original Countdown books. Like Data is alive and like in charge of a starship in Countdown, in the body of B4 after the Nemesis events. And we know in Picard, it's a big plot point. Data is gone. He's as dead as an android can be. So it was it's weird that they keep choosing to call it Countdown. Maybe that's, more common in comics than I realize. I was never a huge comic reader growing up, so this is something I'm coming to more to in my adulthood. I read a few comics, but it wasn't any of the major series like this is a major series. But anyway, so that was just a little picadillo I had about it. But it was a good story. This certainly pleased me a lot more than the first series or the first season of Picard did. Picard was not my favorite show, which is unfortunate because Next Generation was my favorite Star Trek, which I think a lot of people my age that would be the case. It's the one we grew up with. That's what got me into Star Trek. So in the show Picard, like, he as a character has just become a doddering old man who has no confidence and is pretty much the antithesis of Picard, the character that I knew. And just like the original series movie, the first movie, kind of like changed the characters in ways I didn't really care for. Like Kirk didn't know what he was doing on the Enterprise. He didn't know where anything was because they refit it. And then he sort of was like childish about getting command back where he didn't really deserve it. And then Spock just like being kind of a jerk the entire movie. That's kind of what Picard felt like, but Picard was way worse. They just took away all of his competence. Unfortunately, though, in this comic, it's the Picard we remember. It's before the androids attack. So he is trying to rescue the Romulans and remove them from their planet before the supernova wipes them out, which was a plot point in the original J.J. Abrams movie. Excuse me. So, anyway, I liked it. The Romulans kind of have a reputation of being a secretive bunch, and they trust no one. So they think that Picard is, like, trying to start an invasion or whatever. They don't trust the Federation, and they become their own worst enemies, which I kind of like the morality tale. Morality tale to that. But I kind of wish the first two seasons of this show, anyway, never existed. Third season was really good, but we had to suffer to get there. Anyway, that's what I read. What I'm currently reading is just this, and that is PlayDoh, The Complete Works, edited by Cooper. This is just a more modernized translation of all of the works of PlayDoh, but I am reading it on my Kindle device, and I am doing what is... How the heck did this happen? Hang on. Alright. Sorry, dark mode turned on. If you don't know what that is, you can invert the text on the Kindle. Anyway, I'm reading PlayDoh on the Kindle, trying what is known as bionic reading, which is just like a font type where certain letters are bolded in each word and boldened in each word. I don't really know what the correct term is, but some words have bold in them. Anyway, this is kind of what it looks like. I did a video on this, so you can check it out in my September What Am I Gonna Read video. So I'm working my way through PlayDoh right now, bionically. And the last thing I just started is a Junji Ito comic called Romina. I haven't gotten far enough to really give you a really good synopsis, so I'm just going to read the back real quick. An unknown planet emerges from inside a wormhole, and its discoverer, Dr. Uguro, christens the body Romina after his own daughter. His finding is met with great fanfare, and Romina herself rises to fame. However, the object picks up speed as it moves along its curious course. eliminating planets and stars one after another, until finally Earth itself faces extinction. Is the girl Romina the true cause of the catastrophe? A masterwork of horror from Junji Ito, unfolding in a universal scale. We'll see how this is. This seems a little bit more cosmic than the other Junji Ito comics I've read, but I've only read two. I've read Spiral, which is a really strange but really good story about how spirals invade a town, and eventually they start appearing more and more and incorporate things into a spiral-like pattern, which, results in a lot of body horror and just general grossness. And then I read Gyo, which I think that's what it's called, which is a story about, fish invading the land. Or is it a little bit more than that? But that has a lot more body horror, if that can be believed. So this one seems a little bit more cosmic. Based on the, well, I'm not gonna put anything past him. I bet there's probably gonna be body horror in this too, but that's what he excels at. But I could be wrong. I remember in Gil there were a lot of short stories that were a little bit more things you would see in like the old EC comics, that kind of weird. So he has a range, and I haven't nearly read all of his stuff, but I think this will be good. So I have high hopes for Romina. And that's it. I apologize for all the water sloshing and the near coughs. I'm going to go drink some coffee or tea now. So you have a great week. I will talk to you sooner rather than later. Thank you.